Hi guys, welcome! In this video, we'll talk about the Oracle Dungeon. This is one of the new features that came along with the Matsu and the wedding system in the recent episode 3.5 Southeast Asia server patch. We'll discuss the basics of the Oracle Dungeon, what monsters and environment you'll encounter, and the tips and tricks to conquer this dungeon. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. The Oracle Dungeon is a weekly instance that you can clear with a party, just like the Valhalla Ruins and Endless Tower. In this dungeon, players will encounter 60 Sigmond cards, which spawn various aggressive monsters, environments, and buffs. The goal is to survive and defeat all the monsters to get rewards such as the Gram Dust, which is used to craft cards in King Pouring NPC, Oracle Dust, which is used for enchantment of head, face, and mouth items, and Oracle Crystal, which is used for enchantment of back and tail items. In addition, there is also a small chance to obtain a poker album. When you open it, you will receive a random card. However, it will not unlock in the Adventure Handbook. The Oracle Dungeon has different levels of difficulty: easy, medium, and hard. However, only the easy difficulty is available in the Southeast Asia server right now. Although it is termed as easy, in some cases it's not really as easy as it seems. Unlike in other instances where other party members can AFK while the DPS, tank, and FS deal with the boss, in the Oracle Dungeon you cannot do that. You always have to be at your feet during the changing environments. To enter the Oracle Dungeon, all party members must be at least level 60. The party leader should talk to Helge, the Fantasy Circus worker NPC located at the left side of Prontera Square. You will then be teleported inside the circular dungeon. Once inside, talk to Sigmond to view the sequence of cards. You need to ensure that the harshest environments, monsters, and bosses are spaced out. If your party doesn't like the card sequence, you may opt to leave and enter again, as it will reset the order of cards. For example, it's good to avoid sequences wherein the bosses appear next to healing mobs, as you will find it more difficult to kill the boss. Take note, however, that the cards are permanent for the week and it's just a sequence that will change when you leave and enter again. There are 3 cards that will be summoned per wave. You will see the incoming wave of mobs and environment at the rightmost part of the screen. The monster and environment cards spawn at the upper left portion of the inner circle. This is what we call the danger zone, and no one should be inside that zone. Meanwhile, buffs would appear at the lower right portion of the circle. Just get the buffs if you need to. In general, the tank and melee classes should be in the inner circle, while the ranged DPS and priest should be in the outer circle. When all 60 cards have been summoned and you haven't killed the boss monster yet, you should go to the center of the inner circle. This is because the playing field will become smaller and smaller as time goes by. Stepping on the outer circle filled with a green fire will instantly kill you, and even resurrection cannot save you when this happens. Now let's talk about the various cards in the Oracle Dungeon. It's very important to take note of these, as your strategy will depend on the cards handed to your team. First, let's discuss all the environment cards. There are 14 environment cards you need to pay attention to, since they cause debuffs or deal damage to your party. First, we have Sea of Fire, which spawns pools of fire on the ground, dealing damage over time to anyone stepping on it. To avoid taking damage, just walk out of the affected areas. Next, we have Meteor. This is kind of like the Meteor Storm skill, where several meteors will fall on the ground, insta-killing party members that are hit. This can be avoided by moving out of the red indicators on the floor that appear before the meteors hit. Then we have Glacier, where everyone in the inner circle will be frozen. To counter this, just go out of the circle or place a mark card in your offhand. Another notable environment is Sand, which significantly decreases cast time and hit. As a result, high wizards will take ages to cast Meteor Storm even with a no-cast equipment build. It's best to wait first when the sandstorm is still active. Another tip is to unequip your weapon first and then equip it again to cancel the cast. Magnetic Field will immobilize everyone. Swirlwind gives a debuff. Tranquilizer Stuns everyone. Enchanting Incense reduces attack speed and movement speed. Lightning Rod will deal wind damage instantly to everyone. Noisemaker makes everyone silence, preventing you from casting skills. Poison, as the name implies, will poison everyone, reducing HP over time. Blinker blinds everyone, causing auto attacks to miss. Photoscope will weaken everyone in the party, decreasing def and M-def. And lastly, we have Fake Potion, which will cancel out the effects of potions. Now let's take a look at the different buffs you can get. First Aid Kit heals your HP and cures any status ailment. Skate Shoes increases your movement speed. Pocket Watch also increases movement speed but decreases attack. Full Swing increases attack speed. Kerosene increases attack. Mastodon increases critical. Armor increases damage reduction. And Shield gives damage immunity. Next, let's talk about the different types of monsters summoned in the Oracle Dungeon. The mobs here have higher HP and other stats compared to those in the Valhalla Ruins and Endless Tower, so they are harder to kill. Others also have debuffs that you need to take note of. First, we have the healing mobs. They are really annoying to deal with since they will heal other monsters, so you need to prioritize killing them off first when they appear. Examples of healing mobs are the Vitata, Menblat, Aboon, and Marina. Next, we have the SP Feeders. They will drain SP, which can cripple your team, especially if the support loses his or her SP pool. You have to ensure that they don't go near your FS Priest. The Battery is an example of the monster under this type. Next, we have the Stripper mobs. They strip off your equipment, thus weakening your team. You also have to kill them off first, as a fully stripped member will have lower stats. A noteworthy monster of this category is the Ride-Word. To counter this, you can buy the Staying Calm Adventure skill and buy the Repairing Alloy from the exchange. This will let you wear the strip-off equipment. Another annoying monster type is the Cloner. If you do not kill them immediately, they will multiply and multiply, so it's best to also focus on them. An example of this is the Evil Druid. Lastly, we have the Reflectors. These monsters reflect the damage that they receive. An example is the Vadon. Lastly, we have the boss cards. There are 3 MVP boss monsters that you will encounter in the Oracle Dungeon. Your team should ensure that the boss cards are not close together, as they will take longer to kill. One of your DPS needs to focus on killing the boss while the others deal with the mobs and other monster cards. The boss monsters here have higher HP compared to those in the Valhalla and Endless Tower, so you really need to have a high DPS to kill them off quickly before the next wave arrives. Take note also of the strengths and weaknesses of these boss monsters. As an example, Frioni reflects physical damage, so your party will need a high whiz to take care of Frioni. Now that we know the basics of the Oracle Dungeon, let's dive into my top 5 tips to finish the Oracle Dungeon. Tip number 1. Have a good team composition. In order to ensure that you can beat the mobs and boss monsters, you need to have an efficient team composed of the following job classes. First, you need a tank to hold the mobs and boss monsters with a taunt skill. Paladins, Lord Knights, and creators with Amistyr can fit into this role. Next, it is mandatory to have a full support priest for the buffs and the ability to heal and resurrect team members quickly. And for the remaining 3 slots, you need to have 3 DPS characters to kill off the monsters as fast as possible. 1 DPS should focus on spamming AoE skills to quickly destroy mobs. Primary examples would include High Wizards with Meteor Storm or Lord of Vermilion, Snipers with Fire Arrow Shower, and Creators with Improved Acid Demonstration and Hell Plant. Another DPS is assigned to melt down the boss monster. The job classes which can fit into this role are Asura Champions, Pierce-type Lord Knights, ADL Snipers, Assassin Cross, and Stalkers. And for the last DPS, he or she should spam crowd control skills such as Stone Curse, Storm Gust, and Marsh Pond for High Wizards, or Cart Revolution and Hammerfall for White Smiths. Tip number 2. Eat cooked food. Before entering the Oracle Dungeon, you must cook and eat food that give immunity to Death Blow and Abnormal Status. This will be very beneficial for the survivability of the team. You need to have level 6 or higher tasting mastery level to get a maximum of 6 food buffs. The DPS and priest may eat 5 foods that give immunity to Death Blow and then 1 food that gives immunity to Abnormal Status. As for the tanks, they may have 3 foods that give immunity to Death Blow and another 3 food that give immunity to Abnormal Status. Examples of food that give immunity to Death Blow are the Prontera Royal Salad, which also grants cast delay reduction and MDef, which is suitable for tanks and priests. Sky Blade or Magic Green Barbecue, which also increases magic attack, suitable for high wizards. And Call from Ocean, which also gives physical attack, suitable for physical DPS. Take note that only the Prontera Royal Salad can trigger the immunity to Death Blow effect twice, while the rest can only trigger it once. As for foods that give immunity to Abnormal Status, I suggest getting the Geffen Steak, Desert Steak, or Prontera Royal Steak. Up to 4 Abnormal Status effects can be cancelled by each of those dishes. Tip number 3. Bring lots of potions and other consumable items. You cannot just rely on your FS Priest for your survivability. You also need to bring your own HP and SP potions since the priest is also focusing on his or her survivability. Yggdrasil Berry and Honey are very useful since they recover higher HP compared to white potions. Panacea is also a must to get rid of Abnormal Status effects. Other notable consumable items that you need to bring are blue gemstones for high priests and high wizards, elemental arrows for snipers and bow type stalkers, repair alloys for broken items, and of course meal A or B for all classes. Tip number 4. Pay attention to the order of cards. Before starting the instance, check the order of the cards. Make sure that the MVPs are spaced out and that the healing mobs does not spawn together with the MVPs. If you don't like the order of cards, you may leave the dungeon and enter again. However, just note that once you start the instance, if you leave the dungeon, you won't be able to re-enter, unlike in the ET or Valhalla Ruins. In addition to checking the cards beforehand, your team must also be mindful of the cards during the instance. You must anticipate which cards will fall next in order to position yourselves correctly. Last and definitely not the least, your team needs to have teamwork and proper communication. You need to communicate your strategy with your team to be able to finish the Oracle Dungeon. In our team, we have a shot caller who reminded us of the cards that are about to appear and our positioning in the map. It is very helpful since everybody needs to be on the same page in order for you to finish this on time. Alright, so far we covered the basics of the Oracle Dungeon, all the different card effects, and mob types. We also touched on a few tips and reminders. I hope this video was helpful in giving tips and strategies for your team to conquer the dungeon. Today's video shoutout goes to Josh Morales and Squeamish. Thank you guys for tuning in. Alright, that's it for this video guys. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed watching this guide. If you're new here, I would love you to consider subscribing by hitting the subscribe button down below. I would love to have you back. Thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.